The whole concept of practice is brought into the field of action as a result of it serving the function of undoing obstructions, born and maybe self-created. Now, of course, we can also acknowledge that there are those people born with their fate, with their destiny, with their karma, and it's perfect for what it is for them. Some might say, why change anything? Since it seems to be working, why change anything? Well, don't have to change anything. Because the way things are is a state of consciousness, but is that the optimal state of consciousness for the individual? See?
How do we know what is an obstruction for us, and how do we know what is a potentially useful arising? How can we discriminate between the two? If there's a difference.
Well, there may be things that you have to do, and it's hard for you to do them. There's your sign right there. Difficulty. Yeah. What do you have difficulty with that you wish you didn't have difficulty with, that you would like to change from difficulty to ease? There's a case in point right there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Whether that's an intellectual challenge, an emotional challenge, or physical challenge. Mm-hmm. Same. Then we're talking about not being able to do, being inhibited, held back, limited by, let's say, attitude or circumstance, from doing things or saying things or being a certain way. And of course, these can be considered transformables, which transform don't necessarily equate with or amount to enlightenment, but they amount to change. So then change of itself, or transformation of itself, is not necessarily enlightenment. Okay. Entering the stream of peace, let's say, the stream of non-dual, non-interference, clear mind or clear awareness. So it depends on what your idea is, which determines the direction you need to go in to accomplish what that idea or ideal might be for you, the individual.
So how can we formulate an ideal? Seems like reasoning and desire would potentially be...
Well, if you don't have one, you're in trouble. You're up the creek. Okay? This is really for people who have some vision, some idea, some sense of direction. See, people who are totally lost aren't ready for practice. There's no question about it. You have to be already engaged in a process of, let's say, karmic transformation, accomplishment, and then know that all your accomplishment don't amount to an accomplishment. See? But because you've gone through all kinds of accomplishments and undergone the process of learning and forgetting and relearning and doing and forgetting and moving beyond that, then you may be ready to work towards an ascent in progression rather than more of the same. See? And just change for change's sake, but no change of elevation. See? So we have to throw in the key word here. See, elevation of consciousness. See? And that's what practice is about. But true seekers should know this already. Yeah. And they do. And if you don't, then you're taking on information which may be of absolutely no use to you. Yeah. And good luck. Don't forget to make a right on that next corner there.
That kind of brings to mind a Can you make the distinction or clarify the distinction between kind of right or clear discrimination and a sort of acceptance and being okay with what is?
What are you saying?
How do we know when we need to decide between something or something else, or not decide at all?
How do you know when you're going to decide anything?
Sounds like a pretty befuddled question.
How are you going to know? You could know such a thing as deciding anything. You have to get to that place where you at least know you can know that you could make a decision someday. That's not really the path as far as that goes. None of these questions reach to, let's say, the level of practice and being on the path. I think the real question is when teachers and students get together. So teachers, show me what to do, boom. So there's no how or what, show me what to do, boom. Okay, I see that, now I do that. And it is done. And show me what else there is to do, and blah, blah, blah. So on. That's what the teacher's for. It's a demonstration of all the things that people are asking about. You don't need to ask about. If you have a teacher, then the person is living the solution to the problem at every step of the way. You have to be able to see that. You have to look into yourself or be in reality with yourself to such a degree where you understand this sort of process of knowing. And going. You got to go, man. You just have to go. You have to do it. You have to jump into the practice. It would appear that everything else going on in your head has to do with avoiding the practice. Maybe fear of practice. Fear of actual knowing. It's safer to ask questions. Safer to pretend to know. But what happens when you really know? Do you ask questions? Do you answer questions? Do you really know when you know? Can you really know when you know? These are questions, but there are no answers exactly. Because these are more than questions. Such. They have to do with individual awareness. Basically, that's the root point. Individual awareness. So you have people who are, as a way of life, sitting in the karmic mind, as if it were a washing machine. And then you have those that are in the practice mind, as if there are no problems. No questions. So everything's being put to rest. Whatever comes up is put to rest. Maybe put to test, but put to rest. Then you have resting mind. And nothing's arising. No one's arising then. In resting mind. Could say rested mind. Say abidance mind. Say peace mind. Maybe even clear mind. Some would say, well, how about awake mind? Okay. We can tolerate awake mind. Awakening mind, even. Still no questions are coming up, but we're saying there are a lot of states of mind which are free of questions, completely, radically, totally, catastrophically. Go on. say void of questions, although you can ask a question. There are no questions beyond the point. Now, of course, we would say we have to have a technical discussion about certain things. So you may have a question, a technical question about the meaning of a certain word, say, perhaps even the connotations of a certain word or implications of a certain word. Say, help to fine-tune the meaning of it. So there may be a question about the meaning of certain things. That's good. Comment. Could be helpful.
You mentioned relative to understanding and taking in information that it's a process of absorption, but also kind of digestion and then letting go.
Yeah, absorption. It's like, allowing it to go into your stomach. That's letting it go. Letting it go down the throat. Say the tube. Letting gravity take care of the business. And not being concerned about it because it's already gone. You can't do anything about it. It's on its own. And that's what it is. That's the process. Absorption. It's letting things be on their own, so to speak. Getting it. Not getting in the way of anything. Absorption. Like communion. Absorption, communion. It's good practice. More than words. You have to get beyond words and thinking, and as you were saying, theorizing all the time. See, this kind of like compulsive theorizing, as if it's some kind of method of enlightenment. No, it's a form of disturbance, and obstruction, reductionism, so on. Missing the point completely. You're not showing any confidence in the possibility of knowing as such. Always.
Here. In the text, Free Master, he used the quote, or you wrote, awareness is pure fire.
So it is. And your problem with that?
I hope I don't have a problem with it, but...
what does it mean then? Since you're asking, what does it mean? Since you're asking, what's the answer? What's the response to the reply?
Well, it stuck out to me probably because I'm beginning to have more of an understanding about fire and what you talk about synonymously, which is release or the burn or practice as letting go. And
burn is much more than that. It's not something you do. Burn is more unforgiving than that. A burn is more like a whack. You know what a whack is, right? Yeah, that's a burn. The burn is like a whack, but it's not physical. Yeah. It's kind of a wake-up call at the same time. And it's a dissolutionary process, a dissolution process that for certain peeps who actually respond to the burn properly, they feel illuminated and they feel liberated in a sense. They feel uplifted by it. But that's subjective. Just hearing talk relative to the burn doesn't do anything. Depends on what its meaning is to the person who is operating at a certain resonance with what's being said in terms of what needs to be released. Once and upon the moment of liberation, then the burn is the burn. Otherwise it's just words, it's not the burn at all. It's about the burn. So meditating on the about the burn is not anyways comparable to or equivalent to or anything like the burn as it is, the burn, which is more than release. It's being ripped off in a sense. It's being stripped off, having your skin ripped off your back. That's the burn. Yeah. You asked for it. Yeah. Comment? Yeah. It's not something you do. You can't do it.
Who does it?
Well, something that happens. I mean, you can say the master might do it. We got to put it on the old man. Something the old man does, right? Or the old woman does. Yeah, but it's liberational. See? It's liberative. See? Exchange, interaction. See? Mm-hmm. Like a lightning bolt. Yeah, but it strikes you. It doesn't get near you. It strikes you, and you're completely disoriented. See? Your confusion is confused.
I felt that today.
Yeah, see, so when your confusion is confused, there's a little bit of the burning going on there. But to the degree that you continue to cling to the same old confusion, the burn is not the burn. See? They have the potential of being the burn. Once that confusion is gone forever, then it's burn. Burn is final, it's absolute. Yeah. It's not just a little heat. Little heat is pretty normal. Being under pressure is not the burn. Feeling you lost something completely, something was taken from you, never to be returned, then that's more similar to the burn. So burn is not something you can talk about and create. It's not in that domain.
So,
it's more like the music. When you hear the music, you're never the same. Yeah. So it burns something into you. It etches something into you. Yeah. And what you knew before doesn't count. Yeah. It gives you a new level of learning or reality. That's the burn, where who you were before doesn't count. Your past disappears to a degree. Man, we're talking particle quantities, quantum, say, quanta, whatever, and it disappears. So, used to think that way, heard this, it's gone, never the same. And you didn't want it to be gone, but it is gone because of who you talk to. So that clears up the case. Next.
When something returns, a problem, a thought, whatever, and a practitioner was working to release it.
Your mind is the ever-returning slime of karmic garbage. Always. So your mind is that. Everybody's mind is that. Human nature is the ever-returning, recycling garbage. So programming. Yeah. It's recreative. It keeps creating itself. Everyone is living from that and thus having the same difficulty of getting beyond it. It's like you kill it and another one grows. Say, but I just threw that out. Well, that's because you threw it out. See? It wasn't really thrown out, you threw it out. It wasn't really let go of, you threw it out. Yeah. So when you allow things to disappear properly, completely, there may be some, what we would call growth, beyond the former condition or the existing condition. And in all cases, generally when you're speaking about things at this level, oh, it comes back, and I said I wasn't going to say that anymore, I wasn't going to do this anymore. There's no elevation in that whatsoever. It's like wishing it would just disappear. See? It's like garbage you throw in the garbage bag and then all of a sudden, and the truck takes it away, but the next morning the same bag is back on your stoop. So wait a minute, I gave this to the garbage truck. They were supposed to throw it away for me. Then they wind up bringing it back to you because it's your garbage. That's the key right there. See, it's your garbage. You made it your garbage, so why should it be thrown away? It's your garbage. See, when you study that point, a little pinprick of a insight perhaps, then you get closer to what it is. Right? It's you. It's the natural, let's say, born proclivity or tendency or program to not let go. Acting like you're letting go, pretending to let go, but never really letting go. Because you can't imagine letting yourself go. You can't imagine letting all the wonderful things yourself has created or shows up as or desires, say, or suffers, enjoys, and all the rest of that. It's too good to be true. Well, what? No. I want to give up all this stuff so I can be better. It's not going anywhere. It's more the same stuff. I want to give up this stuff for more stuff. Nothing's moving. Just in your imagination. So then it becomes an indulgence of, let's say, reflective, non-existing reality, non-existence, make-believe, Disneyland. Say, not to put that down, but it's more Disney stuff.
So then actual release is more of an act of grace than it is an effort.
Well, it could be, or you could be just done with something. We don't have to elevate it in all cases to an act of grace. It could very well be that. If there's grace is the great erase. Yeah, perhaps. But we can say, no, when you take a crap, the crap actually leaves your buttocks and just plops into the bowl and is awaiting, liberation from your premises. Ultimate liberation. Exactly. You have to free yourself of the droppings. All of the droppings, but you have to understand how profound the point is. So what is not a dropping? Everything then shows up as a dropping. Every thought form, every desire, every impulse is part of the droppingness that has to be flushed down the toilet, the tubes. See? And we have to look at exhaling in the same manner as this psychic and mental or psychological process of evacuation. See, liberation. See? Being finished with being what it is. Finished. Finished. Well, since you have lived a life of comfortable clinging to everything and everyone and all the rest of that, you may not know what this really means yet. You may have no way of entering the reality of it. See? You're like a Klingon, cling machine in a sense. But everybody is to a certain degree. See? It's called the mode of attachment. See? Mm-hmm. And it's unconscious for the most part because you're raised to think you have to have. It's related to the word have, havingness, see? Owning, ownership and so on. These are good words, very practical, very functional, very useful up to a point. But when you realize you can't get rid of a little program because you've been having and owning and clinging and clutching onto things, and you're seeing what the catastrophic implications are in regards to the programming of owning and clinging. Yeah. There's no freedom in it. You are the things you cling to. Coming. That includes family, that includes occupation, that includes partners, that includes yourself, that includes, your pets, that includes your apartment, your house, whatever you have, your materials, your cars or borrowed cars, whatever it is that you use, your bike. All of that is subject to the same rule, see, of practical attachment. Now, of course, you can have all these things from the viewpoint of detachment, but that takes a different kind of wiring. So you have to be rewired for that. And practice, maybe some kind of psychologic purging can bring you to a place where you don't really care about what you have. You don't need what you have. But it's there, so you use it. It's like no big deal. Here, take that. Get rid of it for me. And use it. Because your addiction is so intense to these things, that you need relief from that. That's why in many spiritual works at more extreme end, we'd have to say at the extreme end, because for ordinary people that's so extreme it sounds bizarre and maybe mad. They give up everything. Say, I can't own anything. I don't want to have anything. I want nothing. Plenty of nothing. All I want, dear Lord, please, this Christmas, what I want above all other things is nothing.
That's a lot.
Too much for peeps. Yeah, it's too much to think about. It's too much to have. Yeah. And we have plenty of it. As I was saying to the friends before the filming, when we were sitting together in satsang, I said to one person, have you ever asked your Lord for help? See? And of course, those are not the terms she ever thought about. And I said, why don't you try something along those lines and see what happens? Why don't you consider, or imagine you have more to you than yourself, and ask unto it or into it, say, for something, and see what happens. You may be awakening something in your brain, say, in your potential. And the only way you're going to find out, know for sure, is to practice. Know what it is you need to, practice, say, exercise, say, put to work, put to use. Say, or ask of your, not so much yourself, but of your heart. Say, we can use that. Say, asking one's heart. Say, what would happen if you asked your heart for anything? How do you know if you never think of it? Say, if you never even thought of it? See, so these are considerations for peeps who haven't reached the level of going deep enough to understand what they have already, that they're not using. Yeah. And it needs to be weighed carefully in the light of what it is that they want to have that they don't need. See, because what you already have you need, but you're not using, because you don't know you have it to need it, to use it. So that's why it was said in there, you must start to go in and work from the inside out. See? Which is a metaphor. It's not real. It's using words to imply a certain meaningfulness in terms of relating to your present resources, your life, say, your body-mind, machinery, being, organism, and its unused intelligence. Intelligence. In other words, like waking yourself up, perhaps, possibly. And that's what the so-called teacher, guide, or one functioning as, say, leader or master, which is a different grade of leadership in a sense. Master is usually someone who's exhausted these preliminary techniques and methodologies and practices, the fundamentals and so on. So, into understanding already. So there's not the gap that you have to praise it to. You just at that point, have it already. So we need to close the gap between self assumption, self limiting separation from the reality, which is kind of delusional, misinformation wrong data. See? But we have to start there because that's the form, that is the very structure we have been given in life from the culture and the family, that you are just a you, and that's all there is to you, which is an outright tragic lie. You are the universe, from my perspective. We are the universe. We are sort of like individuated embodiments of what it is. And the potential then is like, I guess you might say, per atom, to use the language, that is used in the world of, let's say, science. The atom is complete, perfect unto itself. Its own type of galaxy. If you can see into it well enough to understand the infinity of matter, then you have a better sense of what this kind of ideation is. This process of examination or investigation is, which is science. Who are you? Are you just what your mommy called you? Or more? Are you just what your friends know or more? Are you just what your spouse or your partner, your companion calls you or identifies you as, or claims to know you as, or limits you to, maybe limit you to? Or are you more than these things? Are you just your educational degrees and certifications, that your badges of approval or badges of discipline or specialness? Are you just that, masquerading as if you know something because you underwent a system of programming, to act like you know and to prove that you're acting like you know, to get your degree, which proves you've been pretending to know something. You had to go and learn. You didn't really know it as such. So we'd have to question that kind of knowledge. No, that's not real knowledge, that's conventional knowledge. So you need a degree of real understanding, real knowing. And that's not something you can get in these schools unless it's a specifically designated school of knowingness, realization or spiritual enlightenment, or as I need to call it, ensoundment, as it is in my case. Means the same, but it's different. We're talking about the difference between enlightenment by eye and reading, and then ensoundment by ear and hearing. That's my revelation to the peeps, because that's what I was born to do. Make the distinction for people, because having lived it and manifested the gifts of that, the reality of that through music, at a very difficult, complicated level, makes it very clear that having attained this kind of simplicity of realization, this is possible. That's all we're saying, it's just possible. And people ask me, well, how do you do it? I say, well, what are you doing to not do it? You're doing everything to not do what I do. Which is nothing. It's just it's an inhalation and an exhalation. Without any thinking, but just allowing it to happen. Kind of a mysterious but classically Zen approach to it. And you have to understand yourself well enough to be able to put that into manifestation at the same level. Spontaneous manifestation, as if you have nothing to do with it whatsoever. And that is a figure of speech, but it's actually a reality that's very mysterious, because when you're working with these forces, you have to stand aside and let it do what it has to do, because if you don't, the results will be disastrous. They'll be ordinary. You just go into ordinariness. You descend into ordinariness. Self-consciousness. You have to be expanded beyond that into the universe's idea of what this is all about. The heart's idea of what this is all about. The deeper, more intelligent side of what this is all about. Let's call it even the genius side of what this is all about, beyond information and memory parroting. We're not talking about being a memory box. No, that's not genius. Genius is beyond memory. It knows beyond having heard it before. knows beyond knowing. So it knows beyond the mind. It knows beyond intelligence even. Yeah. So strange indeed is this thing, this monster called realization or grace or whatever you want to call it. It's a mystery. It doesn't know that it knows. It's a paradox. And then it knows it doesn't know. That's the same paradox. So there we are, off to another step. Hugh. Since this grouping of say of discussions began with a concept related to and around the topic or subject of burn, then I would say this at this point, that burn has everything to do with stillness. No stillness, no burn. No burn, no stillness. And peace. Born of the spaciousness, emptiness of reality. There is beauty and the beautiful in the radiant nothingness of what is real, what is true, what is now. Here.